In the modern world, the smartphone has long ceased to be merely a means of communication. Today, it is a device that knows more about us than we do ourselves. 1 in 5 people on the planet faces mental health problems, and these numbers continue to grow. Stress, anxiety, depression, these words are heard more and more frequently in everyday speech. In an era when emotional burnout is becoming an epidemic, technology offers an unexpected solution. The device lying in the pockets of billions of people is transforming into a sensitive observer of our psychological state. Smartphones, equipped with numerous sensors and artificial intelligence algorithms, have learned to recognize subtle changes in user behavior. By how we type messages, how long we look at the screen, what applications we use, the system can determine our mood with astonishing accuracy. The revolution in understanding human emotions began imperceptibly, with simple mood diary applications, but quickly evolved into complex systems capable not only of diagnosing, but also predicting emotional crises. Man has always strived to understand his own emotions. In ancient times, people kept records on clay tablets. In the Middle Ages, in handwritten diaries. The 20th century brought the first scientific approaches to systematizing emotional states. Psychiatrists and psychologists developed paper forms for patients where they would mark their mood on a scale from 1 to 10. These primitive self-observation tools became the predecessors of modern digital solutions. The first serious step towards technological mood monitoring occurred in the early 2000s, with the advent of personal digital assistants, PDAs. It was then that psychologists began to experiment with electronic mood diaries. A true breakthrough happened with the arrival of smartphones. The year 2008 and the release of the first iPhone opened a new era. The first applications appeared, allowing users to record their emotional state with a single tap on the screen. The user could select an emotion from a list, rate its intensity, and add a comment. But conscious human involvement was still required. The next stage of evolution was passive data collection. Accelerometers and gyroscopes in smartphones began tracking physical activity. Researchers discovered a link between depressive states and reduced mobility. Microphones started analyzing speech, detecting signs of anxiety or despondency in the voice. Cameras learned to recognize micro-expressions on the face, invisible to the human eye. Even how we type on a keyboard became a diagnostic tool. Slow typing, frequent errors, pauses between words, all of this can indicate cognitive impairments. By 2015, the first integrated systems emerged, combining various data sources into a single picture of the user's emotional state. A modern smartphone is a true laboratory for emotion analysis. It conceals dozens of sensors capable of registering the subtlest changes in our behavior. How does the device determine what we feel? Let's start with the most obvious: text analysis. Algorithms scan not only the content of our messages, but also the writing style. Short, choppy phrases can indicate stress, while an abundance of negatively charged words might point to a depressive state. Even the frequency of using the pronoun I can be a diagnostic sign. Research shows that people in a depressed state tend to focus more on themselves, which is reflected in their speech. Voice analysis is no less important. Modern applications capture micro changes in timbre, speech tempo, and volume. Depression manifests as monotony, while anxiety shows in increased speed and broken speech. Artificial intelligence can notice these nuances before the person themselves becomes aware of them. Behavioral patterns also reveal a lot about our state. The accelerometer and GPS sensor record movements. A sharp reduction in the range of movement often signals the onset of a depressive episode. Even the nature of app usage has diagnostic value. Night surfing, chaotic switching between programs, increased time on social networks, all of this can indicate escalating anxiety. Biometric data complements the picture. The smartphone camera analyzes micro-expressions, those facial movements that last fractions of a second and are imperceptible to the human eye. Some applications integrate with wearable devices, gaining access to data on heart rate, sleep quality, and skin galvanic response levels. Artificial intelligence transforms a smartphone into a true psychologist, capable not only of collecting but also deeply analyzing data about our state. At the core of this technology are complex machine learning algorithms that are constantly being improved. Neural networks, trained on millions of samples of emotional manifestations, are capable of catching patterns where the human eye sees only chaos. Modern systems use several types of AI models simultaneously. Recurrent neural networks analyze sequences of data over time, tracking the dynamics of mood changes. Convolutional neural networks process visual information, facial expressions, gestures. Transformers, which have become a breakthrough in natural language processing, analyze written and voice messages. A special feature of these systems is their ability to personalize. The algorithm gradually adjusts to a specific user, creating a unique model of their emotional profile. What is a sign of depression for one person may be normal for another. Machine learning allows for these individual differences to be taken into account. The key advantage of AI in psychological diagnosis is the absence of human biases. The algorithm does not jump to conclusions, is not swayed by stereotypes, does not tire, and does not lose concentration. It impartially analyzes data, identifying hidden correlations. However, this approach also has limitations. Artificial intelligence can determine that a person is experiencing sadness, but does not always understand the context of this emotion. The loss of a loved one and melancholy from listening to sad music cause similar physiological reactions, but have a completely different nature. The most astonishing thing about modern technology is its ability to peek into the future. Artificial intelligence systems not only analyze our current state, but also predict emotional crises days and even weeks before they occur. It's like a weather forecast for the soul, only much more accurate. Research shows that predictive algorithms achieve up to 85% accuracy in forecasting depressive episodes. How does this work in practice? The system collects data on your behavior in a normal state, creating a personalized emotional profile. Then, the algorithm tracks the slightest deviations from this norm: reduced social contact, changes in sleep patterns, decreased physical activity. All these markers, taken together, form a warning signal. Stanford University conducted a revealing experiment. A group of volunteers with bipolar disorder used a special application for 6 months. The artificial intelligence was able to predict the onset of a manic phase, an average of 9 days before the appearance of clinical symptoms. For people with recurrent depression, the system warned of an impending episode 2 weeks in advance. This is precious time that can be used for preventive measures. The successes in predicting panic attacks are particularly impressive. Algorithms analyze micro-changes in heart rate, breathing, and behavioral patterns, warning the user 30 to 40 minutes before an attack. This is enough time to apply relaxation techniques or take prescribed medication. When the application diagnoses a mood problem, a system of micro-interventions comes into play. Short, therapeutic actions designed for rapid correction of emotional states. These digital methods are based on the principles of cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, and other scientifically validated approaches. The essence of micro-interventions lies in their timeliness and brevity. They take from 30 seconds to 5 minutes and are integrated into the user's daily life. Breathing exercises remain the most common method of correction. Applications offer visual cues for breath synchronization, pulsating circles, animated waves, inhale and exhale counters. Studies confirm that even a minute of breathing practice reduces cortisol levels, the stress hormone. Mindfulness techniques help bring the user back to the present moment. The application may suggest focusing on bodily sensations, environmental sounds, or tactile sensations. The effectiveness of such practices has been proven in dozens of clinical trials. They reduce anxiety by 40% in a short session. Cognitive restructuring works with cognitive distortions. The application identifies negative automatic thoughts and offers alternative interpretations of the situation. This technique is especially effective in depressive states, where distorted perception of reality plays a key role. Personalization is the most important element of digital therapy. Artificial intelligence systems analyze which interventions work best for a particular user in specific situations. Some are helped by physical activity, others by creative self-expression, and still others by social contact. The algorithm learns to select optimal methods based on previous experience. The market for mental health monitoring applications is booming. Headspace, one of the pioneers in this niche, offers not just meditations, but a comprehensive system for tracking emotional states. The app's algorithms analyze the regularity of practices, the selection of programs, and even the speed of exercise completion, creating a personalized mental health map for the user. Calm has gone further, integrating sleep stories into its platform. Special audio fairy tales for adults, narrated by celebrities. Artificial intelligence tracks which stories help a particular user fall asleep faster and adapts recommendations accordingly. Woebot presents a fundamentally different approach. It's a chatbot that uses the principles of cognitive behavioral therapy. Unlike its competitors, Woebot conducts full-fledged dialogues, analyzing user text responses using natural language processing. MoodPath specializes in the early detection of depressive states through a thrice-daily survey. In 2 weeks, the system gathers enough data to generate a professional report that can be shown to a psychotherapist. Dailyo focuses on simplicity. The user only needs to select an emoji corresponding to their current mood. Beneath this apparent primitiveness lies a powerful analytical tool that identifies correlations between activities and emotional states. Specialized solutions like PTSD Coach for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder or Youper for people with social anxiety stand apart. These applications focus on specific problems, offering narrowly focused but deeply developed diagnostic and assistance tools. The scientific community is divided in its assessment of the effectiveness of mobile applications for mental health. Professor David Moore from Stanford University, a leading researcher in digital psychiatry, notes, "We observe a paradoxical situation. On the one hand, clinical trials demonstrate a significant reduction in anxiety and depression symptoms among app users. On the other hand, long-term effects remain poorly studied." A meta-analysis conducted by a team of scientists from King's College London summarized the results of 123 studies. The findings were encouraging. Applications based on the principles of cognitive behavioral therapy show effectiveness comparable to in-person sessions for mild to moderate disorders. However, for severe conditions, digital solutions are significantly inferior to traditional treatment methods. Psychiatrist Elena Kazarian emphasizes, "A smartphone cannot replace a therapist. It does not see non-verbal cues, does not feel emotional resonance, and is incapable of true empathy." Critics point to methodological problems in many studies: small sample sizes, short observation periods, and the novelty effect distorting results. Professor Michael Thiessen from Harvard warns of digital placebo. a temporary improvement in condition due to faith in the technology rather than a real therapeutic effect. A particular concern is the lack of regulatory oversight. Most applications do not undergo clinical certification, their algorithms remain trade secrets, and their effectiveness is not confirmed by independent research. Behind the brilliant facade of mood monitoring technologies lies serious risks that developers rarely discuss. The first and most obvious is the issue of privacy. Daily, applications collect colossal amounts of sensitive data, from speech patterns to biometric indicators. This information is far more intimate than your photos or correspondence. It's a digital imprint of your psyche. Who has access to this data? How is it stored? Can it be used against you by insurance companies or employers? Most users thoughtlessly accept multi-page user agreements, unaware that they are effectively transferring rights to their psychological map to third parties. No less alarming is the problem of hyperdiagnosis. Algorithms are set to detect deviations and often interpret normal emotional fluctuations as symptoms of disorders. Ordinary sadness turns into depression, natural anxiety into an anxiety disorder. The user receives a label that can negatively affect their self-perception. Dr. Jonathan Friedman of Yale University calls this, quote, "The third danger is the formation of technological dependence. Constant tracking of one's state turns into an obsessive habit. People lose the ability to intuitively understand their own emotions, relying on algorithmic interpretations. We are observing a paradoxical phenomenon, the atrophy of emotional intelligence in active users of emotional well-being apps," notes psychologist Maria Steinberg. Of particular concern is the tendency to replace professional help with self-diagnosis. Many users refuse consultations with specialists, relying solely on app recommendations. This is dangerous for serious disorders requiring medication or complex therapy. The integration of digital tools for mood monitoring into traditional medicine is a process full of hopes and contradictions. Pilot projects in major medical centers are bridging the gap between innovation and conservative clinical practice. The Mayo Clinic has implemented a system where data from patient applications automatically flows into electronic medical records. Doctors receive not just subjective complaints, but an objective picture of emotional fluctuations between visits. New York Presbyterian Hospital went further, creating a special position, a digital psychiatrist, who analyzes app data and coordinates virtual interventions with in-person treatment. The results are impressive: a 32% reduction in readmissions and improved treatment adherence. However, serious barriers stand in the way of widespread adoption. The first is the technical gap between modern applications and outdated hospital information systems. The second is the lack of standards for exchanging psychological data. The third is the resistance of medical staff, who perceive technology as a threat to their professional identity. Insurance companies are reluctant to include digital therapy in reimbursement programs, demanding stricter proof of effectiveness. Nevertheless, the pandemic has accelerated integration processes. Telemedicine and remote monitoring have transformed from forced measures into a new norm. Hybrid therapy models are emerging, where applications serve as an extension of the psychotherapist's office. Patients receive support 24 hours a day, and doctors receive a continuous stream of data for treatment adjustments. The future of digital psychotherapy is painted in vivid colors of technological breakthroughs. The mental health app market, currently valued in the tens of billions of dollars, could grow fivefold by 2030. Virtual and augmented reality technologies are becoming a key development area. Imagine a therapeutic session where you immerse yourself in a safe virtual space and a digital twin of the therapist reacts to the slightest changes in your facial expressions and posture. VR systems are already showing impressive results in treating phobias and post-traumatic disorders, and in the future, they will be able to create fully personalized therapeutic worlds. Neurointerfaces are another promising direction. Compact devices that read the brain's electrical activity will allow monitoring emotional states without the need to analyze indirect signs. Prototypes of such systems already demonstrate up to 90% accuracy in recognizing basic emotions. Quantum computing could revolutionize predictive models. Current algorithms are limited in their ability to process complex interrelationships between biological, psychological, and social factors. Quantum computers will handle this task, creating multidimensional models of a person's emotional state. Special attention is paid to the development of empathetic AI systems, algorithms capable not only of recognizing emotions, but also of reacting appropriately to them. These technologies will overcome the main drawback of current applications, their mechanistic nature and lack of genuine understanding of human experiences. We stand on the threshold of a new era of human-technology interaction. Digital mood monitoring tools are no longer merely curious novelties, but full-fledged participants in the mental health support system. Summarizing our research, several key conclusions can be drawn. Smartphones are indeed capable of detecting subtle emotional fluctuations with a precision that sometimes surpasses human observation. Artificial intelligence algorithms successfully predict emotional crises, providing valuable time for preventive measures. Micro-interventions have proven effective for a wide range of conditions, from mild anxiety to chronic disorder management. However, technological optimism should be tempered with a healthy dose of skepticism. Digital solutions do not replace, but rather complement traditional therapy. They are particularly valuable for individuals who lack access to specialists due to geographical, financial, or social barriers. For users, it is important to remember, an app is a tool for self-discovery, not a substitute for professional help with serious disorders. Choose solutions based on scientific methods with transparent privacy policies. Developers should strive for greater clinical validation of their products, collaborating with research centers and practicing specialists. The healthcare system needs to accelerate the integration of digital tools, creating data exchange standards and app certification mechanisms. The future of mental health lies in hybrid models, where technology and human empathy complement each other, creating a continuous support loop. Our smartphones have already learned to read our emotions. Now, our task is to learn how to wisely use these capabilities.